Hello, my name is Barbara Santen, and I am a dating and relationship coach. And I am here to present to you the Attract Your Soulmate show. And today we have with us 𝗲𝗄𝗄𝗺𝗁𝗲. Welcome.
Hi.
Amelia is a former Wall Street financial analyst who traded her fancy office and masculine power suits for the sweet life of a feminine genius. She founded the company Self-Love Story to help teach women the art of being blissfully feminine to achieve their deepest desires. Her greatest passion is to show you how to love yourself at a deeper level and make self-care a priority. As a love and relationship expert, she uses her intuition and loving guidance to help frustrated women feel free and delicious, I love that word, in their romantic life. Delicious is one of my favorite words.
That's a good word.
It's a good word. Whether you're in a relationship or not, or seeking more, or you seek more romance and intimacy, Amelia can help you get there. She has traveled the world and is about to travel more, speaking on many stages, and her workshops are a spontaneous adventure and transformational journey, to say the least. She also hosts a free self-love community on Facebook, free video trainings and healing sessions in there, as well as weekly podcasts called Courageous Self-Love. She can't wait for you to come in, sit down, and enjoy the ride. Welcome, Amelia. I just love what you do. It's very much in alignment with what I do. I feel like we do the same thing, but with our own magic sprinkled on. And I love that. I love connecting on this level with other people. So I'm so excited to get started.
Thank you so much for asking me to be here. I love doing that as well. And I'm sure you feel this way too, with the tools that we have and the things that we know we can help women with.
Yes.
I just want to get the message out there as much as possible. So
I know.
Here.
Yay.
You watching, you're in for a treat.
Oh, exciting. I can't wait. So you talk about women who are frustrated. And I can remember feeling that way. I was so frustrated. I was in a really successful career before doing this. I was in a marriage that I was like working on, and I was leading the marriage. I was very wearing the pants, as some might say. And I was like, everything's great, but why do I feel this unease and this unfulfilled feeling? And it's literally a feeling of frustration. Can you speak to that and how you help women in particular, like connect to themselves and clear that frustration?
Absolutely. Well, speaking to the frustration that a lot of you watching are probably feeling, and that I certainly have felt in my life and still feel, because we're not perfect and we're not done.
Right.
Just this feeling of like on the inside, on most days, on our good days at least, it's like, I know that I'm brilliant, talented, and fabulous. Like, I know I'm smart. I know I'm not dumb. Why can't I make a romantic relationship work?
Right.
Or why is it like I go on these dates and like, why do things fall flat? Why do things fall apart after the 3-month mark? Or why is the guy that I really like not calling me back, and the guy that is totally boring and I'm not interested in, like, calling me all the time? Like,
right.
Why? Like, either you're like stuck in some sort of cycle, whether it's not liking the guys that are way over the top too interested, and like really pining for the guys that just seem to have no time for you, or it's like something's just not working out and it's just boggling your mind because you're just like, I'm smart, I know stuff, I know things, I know life, I know how to adult.
And even you might think I'm decent looking.
Right.
I'm kind.
Yeah,
I'm nice, right?
Absolutely. And so it's this frustration of like, why isn't the things that I know matching up with what I want?
Right.
And I totally relate to that frustration, and I see it all the time. And among really just established, powerful, beautiful, smart, successful women. And what I say to that, how I help women through that, is I work a lot with the subconscious mind and subconscious programming, and especially with deconstructing the conditioning that we've grown up in, right? So we grow up in a very patriarchal society, most of us, where there's this feeling of get more, do more, achieve more, accomplish more. Once I get the first date, now it's like, is he going to make it Facebook official? And then once it's Facebook official, when am I going to get the ring on it? Then I get the ring on it. When's the wedding? Then when's the baby? When's baby number 2? Da, 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 da. You know, at work, okay, I got a new job. When's the next promotion? When's my next raise? And we're just in this more and more and more, and we kind of get stuck in our heads a lot and lose connection with everything from the neck down, and our body and our spirit and our creativity and our juiciness and our deliciousness, which is, you know, one of our favorite words.
Right.
We lose connection with the things that make us feel alive and joyful. And it's not because we're not smart. It's not because we don't know things. We're just conditioned through society, culture, religion, family, friends, whatever, to move away from those things. And so I practice like a holistic healing where we do talk intellect, mind, but we also get in with the heart and the emotions and the body and the sensuality and the feeling and the spirituality, whatever that means to the person, to really connect and make sure everything is in alignment, because from that energetic place, that's where you'll start to be a match for those things, that partnership that you say you want. So there's a lot of things that go into that, and the main thing that I use with that is I developed a system called the 5 deceptions that are keeping you from the love life you want, and the medicine that goes with that. So I take people through an entire 3-month program through those deceptions, how they show up in your life, and how to overcome them, which again, it's a 3-month program, so I can't talk about everything in our short time together, but that's a little taste of what.
Amazing. Wow, that sounds like a brilliant program. So along the lines of what you were saying before is we repel the men that we really want, or we think we want, or we say we want, the sort of high quality guys that, you know, are married to other people, or they, whatever, all these stories, or we attract these men that are the wrong guy for us. What is the number one thing that's either missing in most women this day and age, or that we're doing wrong?
Yeah, I love that question, and it's also related to deception number 1, and that's why it is deception number 1, because you're like, what's the number one thing? And deception number 1 is denying your true desires. Now, when I say that, a lot of people react and say, I know exactly what I want, I'm just not getting it.
Right.
What I say to that is, whether it's relationships or career or money, on some level, you're denying what you really want, because if you were acknowledging what it is and an energetic vibrational match for that, it would come to you.
Right.
And 100% of my clients and students, people that go through my programs, 100% of them have said some form of, I thought I was clear and I thought I knew what I wanted, but I guess I wasn't as clear as I thought I was.
Right.
And I say yes, because that's why they're called deceptions, because you think you're clear and you think you know what you want, but there is some deception, you know, a mask pulled over your eye or a veil pulled over your eyes that's keeping you from that. And there's so many reasons why we deny what we want. And so, for example, with the being attracted to an unavailable guy, or a guy who's married or committed elsewhere, or who simply is not displaying that they want to put the time in to you that you want him to.
Right.
You're denying your need for emotional attention, your desire for emotional attention. And because if you were not denying that desire, you would not even be attracted to a guy like that.
100%.
100. And I know you know that for sure. And
Yes.
you've even experienced it in your life, but this was the biggest thing in my own love life that I had to turn around.
Yeah.
Where, you know, I kept attracting these unavailable men, or wanting unavailable men. Either they lived in another state, another country, they were already married, which unfortunately I found out later, or sometimes we don't find out later. No shame. Our patterns are our patterns.
Yeah.
And I realized I was settling for unavailability, and I had to ask myself, how am I being unavailable to myself?
Oh, that's so huge.
It's like let's let that sit for a second, right? Like when it's like, where am I being unavailable to myself? I actually had a call with a client right before this, and one of their main things was they wanted a man who adored them. And then when I had them really, and I have all my clients do this, you know, observe your self-talk, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, where's your self-talk? 10 being 100% of the time you're saying negative things to yourself.
Right.
0 being 100% of the times positive. People tend to be somewhere in the 7, 8, 9, 6, 7, 8, 9 when they come to me. And it's like, okay, you want someone who adores you. Are you adoring yourself? So it all turns around to like, what are you providing for yourself? And that ties very much in with deception number 1, denying desires.
Amazing. And so on that note then, so you teach a lot of self-love.
Yes.
And that is such a difficult concept for a lot of us to understand. I mean, it took me so long to really get it. And the only way I really got it was I gave myself self-love, and then I was able to I learned how to receive it. So just doing self-care was fine, and it got me on the path, but the actual learning of the receiving of it is what created this deep self-love. So how would you, for someone who isn't feeling like they're maybe doing it right, or they're just feeling like they're not getting it, it's not clicking, how would you describe self-love, and how would you get started on that?
Yeah, I love what you're talking about with receiving. That's another one of my favorite words. And I think that's a great place to start. But before that, you asked how I would define it. And so there's a reason why my healing circles are called Courageous Self-Love. And there's a reason why my podcast is called Courageous Self-Love, because it takes, you know, self-love, like going to the spa, self-care, which, like you said, is great.
Right.
But it takes it up a notch, because the courageous self-love is where, okay, I am willing to look at myself in a way and be really honest with myself and see where I'm getting in the way of what I want and my own self-love, but also willing to look at the ways that I don't like myself, and even like hate myself, the things that I hate about myself, the things I don't like. I'm willing to look at those things and move through the pain of processing those things, so that I can get to that place of being able to receive in this like ultimate self-love piece. And you know, it's a big question, and I really think, you know, whether you work with me or Barbara or not, or someone else, or you do a meditate, it's a practice, right? You can't just be like, I got my nails done, I love myself, like,
or I read this thing, or I watched our video and like I get it now. No, it's an actual physical practice you have to do. It's like you can't go look at a gym to get fit. You have to do the things.
yeah. Or you can't go to one session, right?
Right.
And if getting our nails done led us to self-love, I mean, I think a lot more women would be loving ourselves pretty deep, because I mean, I'm all about the mani-pedis, but yeah, it needs to be a practice. And so to just give those of you watching something like more tangible, and I'll piggyback off of what you said, Barbara, around receiving.
Yes.
Like, ask yourself the question, make it a practice to ask yourself, how can I receive more of what I want? And if it's intimacy, like again, back with my client, if it's adoration that you want, how can I adore myself?
Oh, that was so huge for me. That was huge for me in between my last relationship and the one I'm in now, of really learning to give all the things that I needed to myself first. And then magically, like literally magically,
Yeah.
He came.
Yeah.
The
Same.
man of my dream showed up embodied in all the things that I ever wanted, but because I practiced it on myself so truly and so wholeheartedly, and I was already feeling that abundance and feeling that love and feeling that acceptance, there he was.
And it's exactly like what you also what I want to caution people to is, because I teach that, you know, date yourself and
Yeah.
get yourself the flowers that you want your boyfriend to get for you. And I see a lot of people, they do the steps, but
Yeah.
it's not about the steps. And I know, like, I love how you said, because you said you felt the abundance, right? So the steps are good, but you know, my coach, she calls it like inner and outer work, right? The taking yourself out on a date, the buying yourself flowers, the drawing your bath, the cooking meals for yourself, whatever, taking yourself on vacation, that's the outer steps. But what I see a lot of people doing, especially when they just watch a video, like let's say they just watch one of my videos or listen to one of my podcast episodes, and they're like, Amelia, you know, I did the thing, and like, where is he?
Right.
And but then I can still feel they're still doing it to just do the action, and it's like
Totally.
Brene Brown calls it a worthiness hustle, and it's like
Ah,
you can't just go through the motions. I mean, we date men all the time, and they just any asshole, right, can basically come up with a good date on paper, but to actually treat you well and be a gentleman, like that's the inner work, that's the energetics. So it's not enough to just be like, yeah, I took myself on vacation, woohoo.
yeah,
You
like like that, why am I not getting a guy? Like I did it.
Yeah, you have to love yourself through that. You have to embody the energy and like the archetype of the man you want when you do that. It's not enough to just go to the spa, take a vacation. You have to actually feel like I deserve this vacation. And again, you're not going to go from 0 to 100 right away. It's a practice, like you said, Barbara, about how can I receive just a little more? How can I open just a little more? How can I adore myself just a little more? How
Yeah,
can
and that I feel comes from accepting total acceptance of all of your parts. So
I
even right, even the sad, lonely loser that you feel like right now, just embrace her. You know, so many times I sat on the couch in my little apartment by myself, crying and holding myself. And I said this in another video. I'm kind of repeating myself, but it was so transformational to do that, to sit with myself, accepting my like ugly, warty, like no makeup, like ugly cry,
yeah.
loser feeling, but just like holding myself and being like, yes, you're lonely, you're feeling alone, and you feel sad, and you feel like it'll never happen, but you're okay. Literally, like I was holding myself.
I
And
mean, that's yeah. It's a self hug goes a long way when
yeah,
you really.
and yeah, and it feels weird a little bit, and you know, I'm sharing this not because I want to be vulnerable and show that I, you know, I felt like a loser at times, but it helped me embrace that side of me so wholeheartedly that then when I started dating and I accepted the shadow part of me, the sort of parts of me that I don't like didn't love, although now, you know, I learned to love them. Um, yeah, it just it allowed me to show up more whole and more just like grounded in loving all of myself. And that's the thing, it's easy to love yourself when you're yeah, what, say it again.
You're feeling good
When
when
you're
you're,
feeling good.
oh, yeah. But
Yeah,
when you're like feeling like a loser, or feeling like, oh my gosh, my stomach is coming out too much in this outfit, or
yeah,
want to eat junk food, like all the things we punish ourselves for.
all the things.
And what I'll say to that is, when we love those parts, that's what opens up the invitation for someone else to love that part. And I'll share like one of the pivotal moments in my current relationship. We were not even Facebook official yet. We were still dating. And the long story short is, I got really jealous because I saw him talking to this really attractive girl that they knew already. And like we were in this public place and they ran into each other. And in my head, I told myself all the wrong things, like, you shouldn't be jealous. You're not even official yet. You know, don't show that side. That's crazy. You'll be seen as needy. But it was when I loved myself anyway, and I was willing to show him that side of me. And literally after he stopped talking to her, we were like walking and he could tell something was wrong. And I was like, nothing, I'm fine, as we do. But
Yes.
finally, no, Amelia, vulnerability, you're going to lean into this. You want intimacy, you're going to you're going to do intimacy right now. And so finally I burst and I just started like crying. I was like, I'm jealous. Who was that girl? Like, I feel like a crazy person, but like, I don't even care because I'm so jealous and I don't even know who that was. And she was really hot. And like, I shared all those ugly things that I would never have said to a guy I was not even Facebook official with yet. I said those things, and honestly, it's what gave the opening for him to show me who he really was as a man.
Yeah.
Because he could have been like, oh girl, why are you jealous? Oh, you're making too much of a big deal, and like invalidated and dismissed me. But because I didn't invalidate or dismiss myself, he was able to step in and really show up for me in a way that I had never let a man show up for me, because I had never let myself get vulnerable to that point to even like love myself enough to be like, I'm freaking jealous and I feel like a crazy person. You're welcome, you know?
Right. And you were vulnerable, but owning it.
Exactly.
You weren't saying, you asshole, you were talking to another girl. You were owning it and saying, I feel so silly for this. I feel jealous. And here it is, like, fine, take it or leave it. But you were so honest with yourself and owned it right? So that he didn't feel attacked, so he could be there for you back.
Absolutely. And the piece that I want to say to that too, because I tell that story a lot, especially to a lot of my clients and stuff. And I might not react. I mean, you know, my man, he's amazing. Okay. Like, and there's a lot of amazing men out there for you. There's enough to go around, I believe.
Yes.
But they're not all going to react that way. And if he would have reacted differently and like either dismissed me or invalidated me or shamed me, we probably would not be together right now, because it would not have led to fruition.
Right, because you were in such a strong place that you would have been like, oh, he's not showing me that he's going to be the man that I need, so I'm going to move on, and I'm confident enough that I will find someone else. Not this whole like, oh my God, it didn't work out because I became too vulnerable. No, it's
self-love, because
self-love.
ugly, messy, needy, vulnerable, jealous, crazy jealous, raving jealous person.
Yes.
And because I loved that, it didn't matter if he would have accepted it or not.
Yeah.
Been able to walk away, which that takes a lot of inner work, and a lot of inner and outer work. And that's what you're here watching this summit for, though, right? To do
Right. That's right. Wow, Amelia, I love this. So, tell me, what in your opinion is the difference between unrealistic expectations and knowing what you really deserve?
Yeah. So that actually is deception number 5.
Oh, oops.
Which is not
for the audience. I really don't know the deception, so this is fluke that I'm pulling them out of her.
Because it took me years to develop the deceptions, and it does come from the most common things. And so, you know, I'm not surprised that it comes out that way.
Right.
And also, that's the free gift anyway. So if you want to learn up more about deceptions, that'll be in the free gift. But yeah, that leads to checklists versus values. And this is kind of a pretty heady one for a lot of people. What I'll say to that is this, because we can spend hours on this topic alone, days, weeks. I can do a whole retreat on this topic, so we won't. But there's a difference between features and benefits and actual core values. And so, for example, one big thing that people like is, you know, tall, dark, and handsome, right? That's a feature. Just like on a car, you have power locks, power steering, you know, Bluetooth, whatever. Those are features. But do you want features, or do you want a car that's stable, that is reliable, that makes you feel safe, right? Because when I peel back the layers of tall, right? Tall can easily be seen as a preference, which yes, on some level it is. But on another level, like, I like tall guys because I value beauty and it's attractive to me, but also I like tall guys because I feel protected and safe. And so for me, I would take tall and I would translate that to the values of beauty, attractiveness, and safety.
Totally.
So it's not just about tall, the feature. It's like, what does tall give you? You know, or what does a lot of women have needs to make a certain amount of money? Now, there's a lot of jerks that make a lot of money.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not just about the amount of money. It's what does knowing that someone has a stable job, makes good money, do for you?
100%.
So
Makes
that's the
you feel safe, and it makes you feel cherished because they're able to cherish you and get like the ways of gifts and all that. Totally. I totally get that. And I love that because what I teach is, you know, the list versus how you want to feel in a relationship, which is very similar but different. And I love that. You know, you're focusing on values, which is, you know, is super important and so great. And it's so in alignment with not just focusing on the list. I love that. I love that. So amazing. So yeah.
Well, the list just kind of comes and goes, and I can't tell you how many of my friends and clients have gotten into relationships where they're like, you know, if I met this guy, or I would not have even met this guy if I was going by like, what is it, those qualities that you put on a dating app where it's
Right.
like range, the height range, the look, you know, there's a lot of women wouldn't have met their man if they were sticking to, and because those are all features, right? Or the list, like you say.
That's me.
Me too.
I met my man on a dating app on Bumble, and I matched with him during the very short window that I had expanded my age range because I was like, screw it. I'm just gonna not be so rigid with my parameters. I had to be rigid with my my distance because I didn't have a car at the time and I live in a metropolitan city. So, but I don't want to travel far. So I changed a few other things or whatever. And I just started swiping. I was in one of those modes and I didn't notice his age. And I swiped on him and we matched and the rest is history, right? And we would never be together. I would not have met my dream man had I not expanded those, whatever you call them. What do you call them?
Oh, checklist
Or the parameters or whatever. I would never have met him. But my guiding light was, how do I want to feel in a relationship? Not what check boxes does he tick off.
Yeah. And feelings, especially for feminine women who want to be with masculine men, it is important to have the feelings, right? And back to like the story of where I shared that I was jealous, I wanted to feel heard, seen, valued, even when I was feeling really vulnerable and crappy and not good about myself. And he showed that he had the ability to do that. And a lot of times that some of y'all are probably dating, you could probably be crossing off a lot of these guys off your list that don't make you feel the way you want to feel, or that don't share the values that you want your man to have, right?
Totally. And that vulnerability was the catalyst in you knowing sooner whether he was a match or not. And we waste so much time putting up our facade for fear of being seen. But really what we truly want is to be seen.
Exactly.
So it's that courage that you are talking about. I love that. So you just touched on, say it again.
It is that self-love, because you have to love yourself through that to be able to be seen in that, right? So
to have that courage to say, I'm jealous right now. I'm feeling jealous.
Terrifying to say that. Like I was holding it in and like I don't want to say it. I want to say anything but this. But I was like, no, you know what? I'm about intimacy. I'm making changes in my dating life. I'm going to lean in and I'm going to do it. And
amazing.
I love myself. And he actually really loved me even more after that. Like, wow, she trusted me.
Right.
Her world, her very vulnerable world.
Right. Wow. Okay. So one last thing, you touched a little bit, you just said a feminine woman who is attracted to a masculine man. Can you explain in your words what femininity really is?
Yes. Actually, my favorite way to explain it, and it's the thing that's woven through my group programs and my individual coaching, and it reminds me of this quote: and oh my goodness, I'm totally blanking on the guy who said it. Oh, Mark Nepo. Yay, I got it.
Okay.
And the quote where he says, "The flower does not dream of the bee. The flower blossoms and the bee comes."
Oh, I love that. I'm so going to use that.
It's
Oh
so
my gosh.
yes, and the feminine is the flower in that quote, in the context of that quote, the
Yeah.
feminine flower and the masculine is the bee. And I have a whole video about the flower and the bee too, somewhere on my YouTube channel or
Oh,
something.
great. Our viewers can go find it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's amazing. So that openness, that receiving ability, learning how to blossom without the need of having to be there first. Blossom in your own life, nurture yourself in your own way, love yourself fully without first needing to feel loved by someone else. And then your man will show up.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
And even in relationship, like for some of you, if you're still single / dating, I've seen it where even we've been together for years now, when I blossom, he comes closer. And when I'm trying to like make him be whatever, or I'm trying to like make something happen and I'm
Right.
getting little plant legs and trying
Yeah.
soil and try, then it does not work. Like there's like a lot of resentment and frustration on both sides.
Yeah.
But when I'm feeling myself and when I'm blossoming, like in my business, like he comes closer, and I'm like, this is really this flower and bee thing, you know. And it's a theme that I weave throughout all of my programs, because that's the core of what I teach about being the flower. And there's times to be the bee, but in the context of what we're talking about, attract your soulmate, right?
Yeah.
Flower to attract the bee.
Oh, I love that. And I encourage all of our audience to go find that video right away, because teaching and helping someone else understand that femininity piece is, you have to hear it from several different sources for it to really land.
Yeah.
Right?
It's quite a topic. And yeah, it continues to land over time more and more and more and more.
Yes. Yeah. And it is also a practice. I mean, that blossoming is a practice, receiving is a practice, leaning back is a practice, right? Without feeling like a doormat or submissive, or right, feeling powerful in that is a real practice, which is actually, for our audience, you will end up actually feeling more deeply powerful because you're in alignment with who you really are as a woman.
And, give yourself permission. Like you said, it's a practice. So you might go to the doormat side and be like, oops, I leaned back too much, I go this, and you're like, oops, I'm being too controlling. And it's like, this is where, you're in the bloom, you're in the blossom, exactly as you are. And you might go, and I still do, go either way. And that's why it's a practice. We lose our balance, and then we get back into it.
Exactly. So self-compassion with that. No beating up.
Yes. No beating up.
No beating up. So you mentioned a little bit earlier in the video, you mentioned that you had a gift for our audience. Can you share more about what that is?
Absolutely. So it is a 22-page self-love activation guide for dating and relationships. And it will go into detail about all the 5 deceptions. We got to talk a little bit about 2 of them today, which, coincidentally are the first 2 that I always work with people on in my group programs and private coaching. But you'll get to go into depth with those 2 that we already covered, and the other 3. And there's also a section for the medicine, right? Because it's like, okay, yay, I know about the deception. Now what do I do? So there's the medicine comes after that helps you overcome or remove the veil and move through that deception. And there's also client success stories of how I help different clients move through these deceptions. So you might see yourself in one or all of the client success stories. My story is also in there. So you might see yourself in my story, but it's a beautifully designed 22-page guide. And Barbara will give you the link to download it. And you think one of the emails that you get after downloading it is a link to the video, the flower and the bee video. But if you're impatient to wait for that, you can just go to my YouTube. Everything is 𝘲𝗵𝗲𝗄𝗃.
Okay, amazing. Thank you for that. Thank you so much. And thank you for being here and your time. And in the background, we had a little trouble connecting, right? Scheduling on both parts, but we did it. And I'm so grateful. This has been such a wonderful, wonderful interview. I wish we had more time. And I'd love to, you know,
Do it.
say it again.
3 whole days. Let's do it.
I know, right? Hey, maybe there's a retreat in the making, a collaboration. Stay tuned, audience. But for now, thank you, Amelia, and thank you to the audience for watching. As you know, as I always say after every video, there are many, many more to come. So stay tuned, check your inbox, and I can't wait to see you in another video. See you there.